Sunlight streamed through the windows, filling Lisa's kitchen with warmth and light. The young woman watched the eggs and bacon sizzling merrily in the pan. Their every movement reminded her of summer and childhood joys. The music playing in the background created a cozy atmosphere, and as she twirled to the tune, she hummed softly along with it. Looking out the window, Lisa saw children playing outside, their laughter filling the space with lightness. The neighbors chatted, and sometimes their voices mingled with the music, creating sounds of everyday life. But her gaze stopped on an elderly neighbor from the fourth floor. Gloria, who had been merrily walking down the street earlier, was now walking by, looking down sullenly, as if searching for something on the pavement. This sudden contrast to Lisa's lively mood caused her a little unease. Lisa, feeling the need to make contact, ran out onto the balcony. She waved to Gloria, trying to shorten the distance with a friendly smile. "Hi, Grandma Gloria, how are you?" she shouted hopefully, but Gloria only nodded slightly and continued on her way, never looking up. This silence left Lisa a little bitter and regretful. At that moment, her neighbor Adele looked out of her window. "You've been playing too much with that grandmother, Lisa." She chose her own path, Adele said, her words sounding like a warning, but Lisa only shrugged her shoulders. Her kindness was stronger than any resentment, and she continued to watch Gloria, hoping that someday she would open up to her. It was a lovely morning, and the sunlight flooded the kitchen with bright light. The young woman was enthusiastically flipping pancakes on a griddle, delighted with the process. But in an instant, her attention was caught by a reflection in the window, and she turned sharply. The pancake burned, leaving the smell of burnt pancakes in the air. Lisa, unhappy with her inattention, bit her lip, pondering, was it really just a simple pancake she had ruined? Opening her window, she thought about her neighbor, a woman who always seemed too lonely. Maybe it would be nice for her to get a treat. It might melt the ice in Gloria's heart a little bit. But with a sigh, Lisa remembered that the old neighbor almost never opened her door, even when there was a knock at her door. These thoughts made her feel uneasy, and her good mood began to be replaced by anxiety. When Lisa, full of determination, left the house, she met Gloria in the entryway. Upon seeing her, Lisa quickened her step, trying to create space for conversation. "Good morning, grandmother," she stretched out hopefully, but she only got a brief glance in return, and the old woman continued on her way without a word. Instead of a smile, only silence and coldness. At that moment, Adele, who seemed to have prepared for this meeting in advance, was at her side. She rolled her eyes and said loudly, "Why are you even trying? She doesn't need it. Sometimes it's better to leave people alone." She said this with disdain. Lisa was slightly embarrassed, but didn't allow herself to be distracted from her intentions. "But I want to help. I think she has a sad heart," she replied, not taking her eyes off her neighbor's door. Hope sparked inside her. If a pancake could melt the ice of loneliness for even a moment, she would be happy to try it. Hope was her only weapon against indifference. Lisa couldn't resist the urge to try to make contact with her neighbor again. After several unsuccessful attempts to call, she gathered her courage and decided to walk into Gloria's apartment. Taking a deep breath, she knocked on her neighbor's door, hoping that this time she wouldn't turn away. But when the door opened, a bad smell hit her nose. Inside, it was dark and messy. Lisa, stepping carefully over the threshold, could not contain her shock. The apartment looked awful. Trash bags in the corners, spoiled food on the table, old newspapers strewn everywhere. It was total chaos. Her heart clenched. How could this kind woman have lived in such a mess for so long? Thoughts of how she had tried to talk to her before now seemed frivolous. In the corner, on the shabby couch, sat Gloria with her head down. Lisa realized that her neighbor was suffering from loneliness, withdrawn in this gloomy world. Just then a young man, his grandson, entered the apartment. He looked impatient. "Grandma, We need to decide what to do about the apartment. This can't go on, he said sternly, as if he were talking about some commodity and not a house full of memories. I think you'd be better off in a nursing home, he added, and he sounded disgusted. Lisa froze, unable to believe her ears. How could he talk to his grandmother like that? His words sounded mercantile, as if he was only interested in the apartment for the money. Something inside Lisa broke. She realized that Gloria was threatened not only by the growing mess, but also by those who should be taking care of her. Determination came over Lisa. She was not going to remain indifferent to her neighbor's suffering. In that moment, she made a promise to herself. She would help Gloria in spite of any obstacles. Her heart filled with compassion, and she knew she had to act now, before it was too late. Looking at the mess in the apartment, Lisa felt a determination ignite inside her. After meeting her neighbor's grandson, it was clear to her that she couldn't leave things as they were. Over and over again she returned to the thought, Gloria deserved to be cared for and loved. The next day, taking gloves and a few garbage bags with her, Lisa knocked on the door again. When Gloria opened, Lisa saw surprise and caution in her eyes. But there was no point in backing away. I've come to help, dear, she said with a smile. The neighbor, unable to refuse, only nodded. Lisa spent hour after hour removing lots of trash, scrubbing floors, and tidying up. She labored as if bringing a forgotten place back to life. Gradually, the apartment began to transform, and with each bag removed, the warmth in the room grew. At such moments, Gloria began to tell stories from her past memories of her family, of cooking for the holidays and having fun with friends. These stories were a treasure to Lisa, and she listened eagerly. In the midst of their work, however, Trevor would burst into the apartment again. His attitude that clashed with his grandmother's kindness frustrated Lisa. Why are you wasting your time with this cleaning? Better get on with what's really important, he said with disdain, as if her efforts were worthless. Lisa could feel the resentment building up in her for his words. She knew these confrontations were going to happen more and more often, and it was time to defend her neighbor. Each of his appearances raised tensions, and Lisa was assured that she had to be a support for Gloria until she could get back on her feet. You can't decide for her, Lisa had once vehemently implored when her grandson began to impose his ideas once more. And in that instant, having won a small battle, Lisa realized not only was she helping Gloria, but she herself was gaining new strength and confidence in doing so. The neighbor's life began to change thanks to the care from kind Lisa. She brought treats every day, sat by her side, and shared stories from her life. Gradually, a smile appeared on Gloria's face and a sparkle in her eyes as she began to feel part of the world again. She gladly accepted help and even began to talk to her neighbors, forgetting her former reticence. Lisa decided it was time to ask for help. She created a post on social networks, and soon locals began to bring furniture, clothes, and even kitchen utensils to make Gloria's apartment cozier. Gloria looked at it with gratitude and amazement. Her home had found new life, and her heart was filled with joy. But the grandson continued to insist on his own interests, not noticing the changes around him. At a meeting with neighbors, when they discussed Gloria's new life, he waited warily for her opinion, certain that she needed his help. When it came time to speak up, however, Gloria, gathering her thoughts, said bluntly and confidently that she wanted to live in her apartment. She didn't need his help and was ready to make her own decisions. Those words hung in the air as if time stood still. Trevor remained silent, not knowing what to say. Then the voices of approval echoed around him as they supported their grandmother. Lisa felt pride for Gloria fill her chest. In that moment, Gloria realized that she deserved happiness and a new life free from other people's control. She smiled, and that smile was the beginning of her transformation.